Radical Islamist preacher Anjem Choudary has been found guilty of directing a terrorist organisation and encouraging support for it through online meetings, and now faces another spell behind bars. This footage shows the moment Choudary was arrested in July of 2023.
Stand back! Please stand back! Stand back! Stand back! Stand back! Stand back, sir! Stand back! Stand back! You can get hurt! Stand back! Stand back! Stand back! Hold your hands up! Show me your hands! Show me your hands, please! Come over here! Come over here! Come over here! Come over here! Oh my God! Okay, come and sit down here. What are you doing? Come and sit down here. Come and sit down here. Come and sit down here. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Anjem, I am arresting you under Section 41 of the Terrorism Act 2000 as I suspect that you are a terrorist and involved in the commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. Information has been received that you belong to and are actively involved in the activities of Al-Muhajiroun, which is a proscribed organisation within the United Kingdom by virtue of the Terrorism Act 2000.
After a trial at Woolwich Crown Court, Choudary was convicted of having taken a caretaker role in directing Al-Muhajiroun. Prosecutors said Choudary directed the terrorist organisation for a lengthy spell of time from 2014 onwards, as well as encouraging support for the group by addressing online meetings of the Islamic Thinkers Society, ITS. The 57-year-old of Ilford in East London gave lectures to the New York-based ITS, which prosecutors said was the same as ALM. ITS was infiltrated by undercover law enforcement officers in the US who were present at online lectures in 2022 and 2023 held over the Element Messenger platform. ALM was proscribed as a terrorist organisation in the UK in 2010, although the court heard the group has continued to exist under various names. The conviction followed investigations by the Metropolitan Police, the New York Police Department in the US and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
So Anjem Choudary has a long history of radicalising individuals here in the UK and now we know overseas. So this verdict is really significant for public safety. It means that an individual who's had such a significant impact on vulnerable and younger people in radicalising them towards terrorism is now in custody and I believe is a sign of sustained public protection as a result. Yes, this case is a really good example of how counter-terrorism policing across the United Kingdom works so closely with our intelligence partners here in the UK, and which of course is something that we do very regularly. But in this case, of course, our law enforcement colleagues both in the US and in Canada. And it's a sign of how healthy our relationships are that we can collaborate almost in one investigation across international borders and jurisdictions to achieve that sustained public protection.
A senior security official said the conviction was a significant moment, adding that the evidence presented in court showed Chowdary's continued involvement in supporting terrorism and radicalising others.
So the significant element of this investigation is that it disrupts the radicalizer himself, rather than focusing on the foot soldiers who are caught up in the attacks and the plotting and planning. Therefore, future generations won't fall into the same trap as generations past.
And again, I'll just echo her comments associated to that. And I think the key thing is that we want to focus here is sometimes in the media, we get very focused on, the events when they take place. And I think this just highlights that sometimes the pen is mightier than the sword. So a conviction in 56 would be great for, I think, worldwide, not just here in the UK.
Choudary, who was convicted of supporting the so-called Islamic State in 2016, denied inviting support to ALM through lectures to ITS because the group, as he says, didn't exist. He said during the trial that ALM was disbanded in 2004 because founder Omar Bakri Mohammed had a shift in ideology.
So as outlined, ALM has had a big footprint in the UK's terrorism history over the last 2 decades, but equally in New York City, we've seen a number of individuals who have been arrested, convicted on terrorism charges for involvement association with ITS, ALM's branch in New York. So this isn't a UK alone issue, this is an issue around the world. And having that footprint means that collectively we work together and we spend significant resources to address public safety concerns, again, in New York City and in the surrounding environment.
Well, we know that Anjem Choudhary's had involvement with individuals that have committed terrorist attacks here in the UK in the past, but also travelled overseas to join ISIS. So actually disrupting Anjem Choudary and of course his group Al-Muhajiroun, a prescribed organisation here under the Terrorism Act in the UK, will help us to manage public safety. But of course, you know, we need to keep a watchful eye on others that are involved in radicalisation. So our work won't stop here, but this is nonetheless a significant milestone.
Choudary was convicted of directing a terrorist organisation and addressing meetings to encourage support for a prescribed organisation. He will be sentenced on July 30th.